All right, we're live. Welcome to this live Hangouts coding session, whatever you call it. The basic idea is for me to go through programming from like development and an idea to a finished product, because I feel like most often you focus on maybe React, or you focus on front end, back end, database, maybe the infrastructure as DevOps. And for me, I feel like we should really be more of the entrepreneur or intrapreneur and kind of just get shit done. So that's what I'll try to do in some kind of series of live Google Hangouts. I know that I will have like basically 0.05 listeners or viewers live each session, but you gotta start somewhere. So right now, this will be kind of a training session for me, getting things more comfortable for me, maybe adding music so you don't have too much silence, and so just making it more of a good production. This will be a crappy production, but I mean, think of it as like Wayne's World or something. Maybe I'll play the electric guitar, which I can't really play next time. Okay, for this session, I have a plan. We'll kind of go through this as a team and not really just going straight forward with the code. I'll zoom out a bit and just set up a ground plate. And so I have 3 monitors. So this is like my laptop with the webcam. I will be watching here and sharing this screen. And I have another screen here for more the secret stuff and keeping track of things. So sorry you won't see this beautiful face that much. It shouldn't be the focus. So let's see here. I'll just start up GitHub first, and I'll share the screen with you. Which screen is that? Screen 1. Share. Okay. Present to everyone. Here we go. So this is github.com. I'm currently logged in, so I guess start from scratch. This is what it looks like, and it's a site for sharing your code base. Like, it's not distributing your solution so other coders can use it. You can use it as a kind of package management system if you want, but it's more like issue tracking. Did someone in your team find a bug? They can file an issue, or they think the documentation is unclear, they can file an issue. If they want to correct a bug, they can make what's called a pull request. So you can pull in their solution. And yeah, you need to sign up. For me, I will sign in. And I'm using LastPass here. It's a really good suggestion to use LastPass. And you see I have a pretty short password. I need to change that. But LastPass can help you manage passwords and store the passwords that are like humanly not sane. So they're like really cryptic passwords that you save somewhere, and then you have a master password. Moving on. And you should also have what's it called? 2-factor authentication, which I have. Then I get something on my cell phone here, and this code changes, so it's not an issue for me to show it. Okay, so basically we're here. I'll just want to create a new repository for this session here. And should really come up with some kind of namespace for this. So let's air, yeah, just some kind of like air namespace so you can find all the projects. So I'll just go with air for now. I'll probably change it. And session. Oh, that's terrible. Front-end prototype. Okay. Public. Usually I put this in, but I won't because I'll show you that stuff. Same with this. You should really do it from here if you want to, but sometimes you have things locally and it will clash. So doing without those settings is basically easier. Okay, you get some suggestions, and usually I go with this one here because I already have my Git locally. But anyhow, for now, we'll just copy the SSH, and I won't go into the SSH stuff, so you will probably need to go with HTTPS for now, and we'll cover the SSH part. SSH will enable you to do stuff without retyping the password all the time, and it's more secure. Yeah, it's more secure overall. Okay, so what will we do here? We'll do some kind of. I actually want to do some kind of introduction to the subject of intro to building a front end. Okay. After that, we'll look into Git setup. We'll do npm setup. And what more? We have, we'll use bootstrap and, yeah, let's actually, bootstrap and HTML index.html. Setup. And once we have some kind of HTML, we want to write some code for it. And I'm thinking minimal, what the least amount of stuff we need to do to get this rolling. And we'll set up React with stable. We will have some issues though serving, working with this in the correct way. So let's see how far we get. Let's just add another one because we might do some stuff in between here, but deploy to Firebase. I want to do that before we finish at least. And sum up this session and do pics. And pics is just like off-topic stuff that I think is relevant right now. Okay. So here we go. And introduction done. So basically, I'm Marcus Nilsson, and I'm a web full stack developer. With full stack, I count like doing front end stuff as a developer, not a designer, but developer and doing the CSS stuff and CSS, HTML, Angular code or React code, the business logic on the front end, and on the back end side doing the REST APIs or WebSocket server, and also the database stuff, and then deploying to some kind of cloud provider that hosts the solution and setting up the infrastructure there. So that's full stack for me. And I have a background with C#, some SharePoint stuff, and moved on to Angular before it got really popular here in Stockholm, where I live. And I loved it, but kind of felt like the API was too big for me. There was too many things with Angular, just confusing more junior guys. So they used functionality in Angular that weren't the best stuff to use. So I felt like I wanted to move on and try to transition to the backend with Node.js and build some nice Gulp setup and started doing Express stuff on my own time while still doing Angular. Got curious of React, went over to that, and was like same thing with Angular, but you had more granular controls. I kind of like that, but still got a feeling though that they had a too large API with React, like doing class-based stuff, while it felt more functional style. So they kind of wanted the broad mass to be able to use React, and that felt confusing for me because then you had double documentation going with either the more pure functional style and the other side going more for the object-oriented programming paradigm. And also they had like the JSX stuff, which we will use to begin with, but I will try to transition off because JSX for me makes no sense except making it more available for beginners, and that's a really important value. But moving forward, I think that will fade because I truly believe that we don't need the HTML language that much anymore. So we can just skip it and just learn JavaScript and keep it there. Okay. So, and for this session, the goal is to go through how we make a prototype and what that means, and then make some kind of repository that we can use as a base and kind of instantiate, like fork it, as it's called. We'll check that later, but make a copy of this repository and then just start from there. So don't start from scratch every time. But I believe that you should start from scratch pretty much every time, even though you're making a simple prototype, because you should always try to find the right tool for the right problem. And if you don't start from scratch and don't do that a lot, you will kind of lose track of the configuration of your tools and like the setup and all the pain that it takes to go through setting up a big project or a small project. And you'll just lose control. So when you do need to make a new prototype base, it will take you forever and you will get so frustrated. Maybe it's like, I'll just stick to the same old. And that's really dangerous. We should always be good at pivoting, changing direction, using new tools, being curious. That's something that we really need to take pride in, trying new things, finding new solutions to to new problems. Okay? And we'll use Bootstrap. What is Bootstrap? Before Bootstrap, I basically had to set up my CSS. I know that you had Compass with Sass, and you had less and different things like using preprocessors, it's called, and tools on that to build your CSS. But basically, most people just, on the enterprise side at least, just want a web interface that kind of makes sense. People understand it from the get-go. Like, it's just vanilla stuff. You just want it up there, maybe change some colors, but not basically doing crazy design stuff. Maybe you don't even have the money for a designer. So Bootstrap is kind of great because you get a setup that makes sense. People will know how to navigate your site if you follow the Bootstrap guidelines, and it's easy to adjust with different color sets. So you have boot swatch here. If you check that out, I usually use this myself. We won't do it now. You have all these free settings, and I actually like darkly, having like a dark set, and I think superhero as well. But basically, you can just go directly with Bootstrap, and then later just change the endpoint where you get your CSS from, and then you get another design. So the other benefit with Bootstrap is that if you follow the Bootstrap class set, then you can redesign it and get other people's design for Bootstrap. But it does come with the mindset that you should always follow the Bootstrap rules, and you shouldn't modify it too much, because then you lose the themability. Okay. And Bootstrap, I think, is of all what we will do here, Bootstrap is the most important thing when it comes to prototyping, because it's like just drawing something with big boxes on the whiteboard. So yeah, we'll just get started actually. So iTerm, and I'll check this off, and we'll move on with Bootstrap here. I kind of already did. So, oh crap, yeah. The bad part with not having that many viewers is that you don't get feedback. You should really have a much bigger font size. I have no idea what's good enough for you, but let's go with that. Okay, so here we are, CD. I have all my code under code. Count this as elaboration. Make there to make a directory, and what, let's see what we call this. Oh, actually, I already have it on GitHub, so this is where I can go, and let's copy this. Don't have to. I will just do git clone, and it will make the directory based on the name here. Okay. So we see it here. CD. There we go. And we have Git, but not a single file. So setting up, oh, that's right, I forgot one issue here. Setting up Git. I will not go through installing Git or anything. It's not that hard. There's much harder tools to set up. So if you do have problems, just contact me somehow. Marcus Nilsson at Marcus Nilsson at Twitter, for example. Okay, so we want to have a git ignore file, and we need to add some stuff in it later on, but for now we just need a file. It's just an empty file for now. As we can see here, just empty. Okay, but we will add lines to it, and I also need some kind of code editor now. And I use Atom and VS Code, and I will use VS Code now for this one. Okay, so basically setting things up. They're starting to be the same kind of pattern, that we have some kind of source, which is our source code. So inside that, I'll have some kind of HTML file, index.html, and I'll add stuff here that will be our web page, and then later on we'll add some kind of JavaScript and whatnot. But okay, what should we have here? And I think, like, getting started, they'll just have a snippet here. But okay, just doing like this, in small increments here. If I have to turn it open. Okay. I've never tried this really, but open. Let's see. Let's see if it. So see here, like all the setup that you will see, you can still kind of get started by just adding normal text. You will see us adding lots of extra stuff, but most browsers can still handle normal text. But going forward, we have some kind of structure, HTML structure. And let's see, here's a basic template. So I'll just copy that from Bootstrap. And this here, I think it's for HTML5, and just specifying what kind of language you'll use. There's UTF set as encoding. I won't go into encoding, but that can save your ass. No, I'll remove this because I don't want this to have. If you just start putting meta stuff up, you won't run into the bugs. The UTF and language, you won't get any bug because I will never break it. But hopefully, and same thing here with IE, like what version of Internet Explorer or mode of Internet Explorer your browser should use. That's, yeah, we won't cover that here, but if you do this on Internet Explorer, I want you to discover the errors and then fix them down. Okay, viewport, that's kind of like Zoom stuff and how it should be viewed from start, I believe. So hopefully we'll see some issues with that later on. Good, that's a good comment. We'll move it if we don't have that meta tags. Title. Let's keep that empty for now. And okay, first interesting thing, like how do you load this stuff? If you use a href here, it's like referencing a file, so it should be in this file tree, like locally on my computer. I should have like source/css/bootstrap. But here we'll use a content delivery network, and for bootstrap. Here, I won't use the JavaScript, but just this CSS here. JavaScript can do some cool interactive stuff, but it will mess with your JavaScript setup. Just don't use the JavaScript when you do a lot of JavaScript programming yourself. It's just not worth. Sorry. Okay. So this will work, especially when we do it from the file system. Like if you see here, it's from file // and this will work. Normally, I have a static file server, which like a server which I can go to localhost :8080 or something, some port number, and it will serve up this code. And that's actually much better for many reasons. And then you can use // and it will use HTTP if your file, if your server is serving through HTTP, and HTTPS if you're using HTTPS to serve your files. But since we're using file : it won't work. So we'll need to specify, and then we'll go with HTTPS. Okay. And shimming stuff, screw that. When you're prototyping, you don't have to prototype for old browsers. So that's why I don't think you'll need all that stuff. And okay. Hello world, that's fine. We won't use jQuery. We won't use the bootstrap JavaScript. So, okay, this will do. And all here inside head will be invisible for the browser, and the body will be visible, and it will show this stuff right here. And basically, the H1 is a tag, a header tag. So just try and guess what you will see. Okay. Now, what happens though if I were to comment this out? See? It changed the font size and the font. So that's always, try always to do your, when you're a beginner, try to do stuff in small increments. It's kind of like doing test-driven development. Like you have some kind of expectation that you formalize in your head. You have a small idea like, okay, I want to do this big prototype project, so I can prototype things. How do I do the smallest thing possible that I can verify? Now we have an index.html file, and we have verified that the font changes, so we kind of suspect that Bootstrap, that we have Bootstrap active here. There is better ways to verify it, but I won't go into that. But basically, now I have some kind of structure here. And it's been a while for me since I did front-end stuff, so you do need to have some patience with me here. Let's see if that does some difference. Okay, here. Now, I have a container class. And my suggestion is that you start with that. Or I will actually say right now, I will not go into Bootstrap menus because there's so much stuff that if you do Bootstrap menus, you're gonna have a bad time if you prototype, because most often you want to have your own kind of menu, and using the bootstrap menu, you will, they thought of so many different problems and solve those problems, so you don't need to think about it. But when you prototype and want to do your own menu with different heights and yeah, just different stuff, that menu will kind of force you to not make that much of a fuss, and you can't customize it that much. But it's not that hard just putting up a menu if you want to, but prototyping is more about making a small prototype that you then want to launch on a web page that already exists. So I don't think we need to cover the menu stuff. And then the first thing you have is a container. And if you see here, I actually need to do it like this. Here, this is for small screens. Watch it bump to the right. Let's see. There. Oh, it's smoother now. There, it bumped. That's small. Okay, so it's stuck to the left, and now it starts with some kind of margin to the left that keeps increasing, and then boom, it jumps back. Like, what the hell is that? So you have some kind of breakpoints that do something, and the basic idea is that the container adjusts depending on the unit you're on. So a mobile phone, you might not want any space to the left because it's so small. But when you're on an iPad or something, you do want some space. And on a large screen, you want some space as well. But if you keep that space, it will be too much left margin on a really large screen. So then you kind of, in percentage, use another percentage of left margin. But basically, it's different breakpoints adjusting to different kind of screen widths. And I think Bootstrap has excellent documentation. It's just a bit hard, like knowing CSS or components. But the most important thing is the grid system. And it's basically here. It's basically done in 12 columns. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. Is it 12? Small. Okay, anyhow, it's based on 12. So inside this container, we'll set up some stuff. If you don't want the jumping here, that on big screens, like it doesn't take up that much. Let's just add some color. It's easy to see. Color, background color, steel blue, and not background. See here? And that's full screen and mobile. So if you don't want the container to have those margins, you can actually go with container fluid. Okay. Reload. Now it goes the entire way. And when we do prototyping for components, and I think I need to explain what I mean with components. It's like on a page you might have a form for like a login. Let's just say a login form, and you might have that component in different places, like on the start page if you have a user that haven't logged in, or you have some kind of special campaign offer, and you have at the end of that offer you have a sign up slash login screen form there as well. So you have the same component at different places. Prototyping is about components first, like making your components, and kind of thinking of them in isolation. And you might do a prototype of an entire web page as well. But that web page is made out of components. Where do you start? And I kind of want you to be able to prototype components first and not the entire web page first. Since you need components for the big page, we start here with the smallest unit. We build the bricks first, then we build the house. Otherwise, you're gonna have a bad time. I know that many people won't agree with me here. That's important as well. You could do a throwaway prototype, just quick and dirty, and then you make your prototype, you showcase it, and then you adjust it. And as soon as you need to adjust it, you're screwed because you don't have a good structure. You will need to adjust the entire web page if it's not correctly structured. If you have a component-based prototype, you will actually keep the code and transform it a bit, and then you have a production code. So we're moving from throwaway prototypes to prototyping in a way that we can keep the code and just adjust it and make it production ready. Kind of making a sketch, and when you're done with the sketch, you just keep the sheet and keep adding colors and just drawing upon the sketch, and then you have your painting done. That doesn't mean that you can't throw away it. You can throw away any code. It's just that this kind of prototyping that we're doing here is more where you just start with the broad strokes and then finalize it as you go. It's more lean. Okay. So as a component in Bootstrap, I think that actually we just need some kind of title, because that's one of the screwy things. Like if you have a title in a component, should it be an H2 or an H1 or an H3? What level do you have? And that's something that you need to decide. And I would guess that a page usually have like H1 as a title, so you wouldn't start with H1. That's on the web page. And then you have maybe some kind of section that's also on the web page, not in the component. And then you have like your form or something, like login form here. Okay. I'll remove the colors later. It's just so you get into the mindset of what is inside the container and what is inside the H3. Actually, and this is quite normal when you're new to CSS. Let's put up some screaming background colors, and you get to notice the margins and how it works. And that's especially important with Bootstrap and the grid system, as it's called, which we'll get into now. So we'll do something called a row, and that's something specific to Bootstrap. And inside that, let's do XS12 to start with. Testing, and we'll need some red colors here, green, and I'll also compare that to another structure here, just a normal div. Normal div. And we'll put another color on this, yellow. Okay. Did I do it right? I was expecting yellow to go as far as the green. I'm just thinking that the row isn't. Yeah. Okay. We'll do it like this. Did they redo something here? Make something. Okay, let's see here. Universe characters. Okay, I'll check that later. Anyhow, the most important thing is that you notice that. Well, actually, I do need this to work. Oh, sorry, now I see. Of course. And you see here, there is a difference. It's just that I need to like span it and then like this. Screw it. You see here, the T is in line with login form that's outside of the row. So login form is the H3 here. And underneath, you have the row. Yeah, so spacing in between, I think that's the H3. We can inspect that. I won't go into inspect that much. Actually, let's skip that for now. Here's the row in color red, but we're not seeing the color red because the divs here go and take all the space. Maybe if we do like this, padding environment. Yes. Okay. Here's that. And so it goes really to the border of the row. But if we don't have a call XS12, the normal div will go like to the border, really close to the border, while this one here, the call XS12, which is bootstrap handle, will align. And this is something that you will miss. You will like miss the row and just do the call XS12. And outside the row. And it will look like that. So whenever you see that it misaligns, probably you're missing a row. Okay. Now, what is call XS12? We can show that some variations here. Also have actually call XS12 with the row. Oh yeah, that's what. Okay, let's see here. That formatting here. You see, normal div also aligns in the same way. So what actually happens is that you get same results in the inner container. It's just that the normal div, you see here, it doesn't go all the way out, but the text still aligns. So basically, you're not that often interested in getting this background color here, at least. So then you get kind of the same results with a normal div as you get with a row with a call XS12. So remember that row and call XS12 corresponds to a normal div. Okay, so that's not worth too much then, but we try and do 6 instead, and let's copy that. The 2 of those there, and we'll do yellow, rolled and rod. This is the grid system. Out of 12 max columns, how many columns do you want to take? And this is really excellent for making prototypes. This is really what we need. And you can change the XS. It's mobile first, so XS is the extra small. It's the smallest size. Then you have like we can keep that like MD6. Now it starts getting funky here. And basically you have MD and LG. Let's see here. That's the yellow one. I think something got wrong. Oh, anyhow, that's what I get for being. Just read the documentation. It's really simple. You have XS and MD and different stuff. But truth to be told, when you're prototyping, you will go with XS all the time. So this is the default mode. I think I had some fun stuff since I mixed the MD with XS. So I won't go into the nitty-gritty details of the grid system. Just use XS when you're prototyping. That's enough. And as you see, now we're having a total of 24 columns. So actually, we get some kind of nice way of like just making it wrap. So you start on the next line. You can use that to get some cool effects. But let's do some real stuff here. Let's remove some colors. And this much. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so we'll have a dot row. This is I'm pressing tab now. It's I think it's called like emmet mode. Usually all code editors have that mode. And let's see here. Forms. We'll do a form, a really simple form. And actually, let's skip that. Form. Action, I don't care about that now. And the reason I'll start with a form here is because we want interaction, and also it's kind of the worst thing to actually start with. Forms kind of suck when you haven't done it before. Div, form, group, and you have some kind of label here that's coupled to some kind of input. So we'll do the same here. label for username. Username. Is that better? Let's prototype. I'll just like that. Input type. Yeah, it will be text. That's fine. And it's, I think it's the ID that should be the same as username. I think that's for so you can, I don't remember if you can, yeah, when you click the label, it marks the corresponding input field. So there you can have some coupling when you use the for and ID and it corresponds. There's also, you'll also see name instead of ID in some places. So welcome to the web. You see a lot of different variations. Placeholder. Actually, yeah, let's start here. I want to see something. Small iterations. Where are we now? Okay, it's pretty large now because I had it so zoomed in. The username here, and I can now fill in it like so. Boom, excellent. And let's close that. Okay. Label input, and that is what a form group is. So let's make another form group and label, and password. Input, sorry, input, password. And there are some standard types. You can Google it and find the list of types. Not all types are available for all browsers. That's something that you need to keep track of. But password is standard one. And we want the ID to correspond to the for. Placeholder, I'll just do that soon enough. So here, and password 1, you see, we get this kind of effect, and it's because of the type. It's not because of types or bootstrap. Okay. What if I put some placeholder here, like you? I just no. Here. Here's an ammo. That's a sample. And we want to start typing. Okay, cool. Now, let's see if I can do it a bit. Let's see what I actually want here. We really want these to align a bit better, maybe. So, first of all, you need to decide a bit like what should be contained in what, but you do have some kind of what's it called, panel. Let's try and do it like that. Oh, great, we just got that. I need to check. Let's see if they have something. That looks nice. Form. Form horizontal. Let's see how that checks out. Okay, so it jumps out. That's okay. We'll work with the margins later on. And still use form groups. Oh, and see here. Here I actually do that. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, great. Now we can do the call pixels and label. Let's just do 2 here and 10 here. Let's see how it looks. Okay. You see how it stretches out. That's fine. That's actually what we want. We'll see how we manage that later. Let's that. Okay. So now the panel, I think I want to go, oh yeah, we need a button, of course. We should really have a button. So inside the form. Submit, and that's something really special. It means like handle the form. Different frameworks hook into that functionality. And you're doing your own CSS framework. Doing buttons and stuff like that is really something hard. So it should be appreciated. So easy to screw it up sometime. Oh, and okay, sign in, I think it's better. I think that's good enough for the setup with Bootstrap. I mean, with the form, Bootstrap. Maybe we want to adjust it to the right. That didn't work too well. No, duh. Okay, so that was fine. And let's see about the panel. Oh yeah, you see here? Seems like it gets outside of the panel with pull right. It's inside, and here it's inside, yeah. And you need to add some kind of clear fix stuff. I hope it's... Now we're inside. So clear fix is something that's awful with CSS and web design. Basically, it's like, yeah, I don't think I will able to explain it fully in some kind of beginner-friendly way. But basically, it means that you need to specify when you have stuff floating horizontally. You say something should be like way to the right side with floats. Then you can have you're saying like, okay, sign in button, float to the right, and it's like floating above all the content. And you can have another button floating to the left here. and they're like horizontally aligned because they don't take any vertical space at all. So then you need to add the clear fix after the button. And I hope you can do it like this, but I would guess that you can't. Let's see. Ah, yeah. So I can't use the clear fix on the actual floater because it basically doesn't make sense, I think. You need to do it on the parent object and say like, okay, the form should cover the button, the floating button as well. And then the next element here outside can respond in a good way as well. But clear fix is one of those things that if you get problems, just try to avoid the problem with floats by not floating stuff. So here, for example, just don't use pull right and do the prototype without and leave it to the more senior guys to help you. It's fine. Okay, let's see here. Components, we're using a panel. Let's see if we can. Yeah, okay, I need a panel default. Okay, let's see. Now we're starting to get those fun stuff and don't have the correct setup. So here we need to add panel dash body. And you see my alignment here is starting to screw up. First of all, those should be on the same line. Then. So, looks better. This is not that good. But do they have anybody? This is the panel heading without title. Is it a well, maybe? Yeah, there was a well. Let's change. There we go. We get some color. We have some spacing here at least. And that's the hard thing with Bootstrap. If you get the wrong margin, maybe it's not because your form input box goes too far to the right. It might actually be the container's fault. Same thing, you see here, it goes straight to the top here. And those are the things like you shouldn't really have too much container stuff in your prototypes. You can have, but I mean, like for this panel here, will you always have the panel when you show the login form? Or will you kind of change that feel depending on where you show your login form? So that's an important decision to make. And you can, when you prototype stuff, like you won't have this container fluid and you won't have the body and stuff, so you can have stuff here outside. And one thing that you will have is like a top margin on stuff. Margin top. So let's say. So we just go down a bit. Yeah. Okay, so this is our prototype. and we believe that it's good enough, we could make just some adjustment here. 8, or actually, let's make it like 4, because we believe that on our screen it looks better for some reason, and also we might notice that the sign in button goes like too far to the right compared to them. But if you do it like that, like, oh, this looks cool compared to the other one, you're fooling yourself, because it must be responsive. So when you're prototyping it, you should notice this kind of problem here. Should be responsive, and you should just adjust the window. Like, okay, this is a fine size because we're making prototype for iPad right now. When you start making the form so it can't maximize, so you don't get these long text fields, you're actually mixing container logic with the component logic. Like the component, just let it maximize and be like 1,000 pixels wide, and let the container outside adjust to it. So when you have your actual web page, you might have some max width on something outside. So when you maximize the window, it won't let you. Let's see if it works. If I go max width 500, well, what's an actual good value? X maybe? No clue. See? So your prototype, you need to think carefully of, like, what is the responsiveness of the form, your component, and what's inside the actual web page that you should put it on. And I would say, like, here's the 2 choices you have. Like the container and everything above it, that's the actual web page, and that does just like throwaway prototype stuff. But, well, that's something that you need to decide. And if you're unsure, then don't put it on your component level. So then you just have this stuff here. This is what you then like cut out and paste in on the real web page, and you skip the rest. But if you know that you will always have a well, yeah, you can include it, but I wouldn't recommend it. Okay, but here we have a structure, and since we'll do some kind of basic setup, I'll keep it like this for now. We'll break it up to components later with React. And let's see. I would love to see how long. Yeah, we won't get that much further with React and stuff. And I want to really make sure that every time we do this session, we try to really deploy it. So if we go back here, I think like Git setup, that will be ongoing, so we'll just close it. But we've done some kind of bootstrap stuff here, and I will actually end without doing these 2. There will be another session, maybe even today. We'll see. But I want to deploy to Firebase. So Firebase. I haven't used them in ages, so let's see how this goes. And you need to make an account, of course, but it's easy to make some new stuff. And app name, help, frontend prototype, sure. From the air from the prototype bay air from them. We go with air from them. Okay. We created something. Let's hope that I can. Let's set up hosting. I haven't done this in a while. Let's go back to the terminal. Is that big enough for you? Clear. Okay. Now I have Node and npm installed. If you don't have Node and npm installed, try to get nvm installed, because then you can do like nvm use. Right now, I think I have 4.3.0. I can go back to nvm use default, just the current version I use. So you can switch between different versions a bit easier. But setting up Node and nvm can be a hassle, so tweet me if you need some help. We'll do a session about it. And that's something that sucks with having Hangouts show on screen like that. Really try to change so it didn't use this screen, but if someone knows how to disable Hangout so I don't get the pop-ups, or just don't get the pop-ups on this screen, holler out to me. Okay, so npm I is a quick just a alias for install. Dash G is you will hear people say like don't use dash D, and you really shouldn't. But for tools that you use on your CLI without any that aren't bound to any projects, go ahead. Okay. Installing some stuff, and also status. Have some stuff to add here. Git and boom, git commit, and basically here we don't work in the correct way, so I will actually skip the message. That's something you should always have good messaging, but we're not working with Git right now in that good manner. So making good messages doesn't really make sense. We have bigger issues. We're pushing to master. You shouldn't do that. We should use pull requests. We'll get to that later. So if I were told you to write good messages, you wouldn't be able to, because we're not working in a good manner to enable good messages. Okay. So let's see here what happens if I try to into your website directory. Okay, let's just go into source for now. Or actually, let's do it from here. Firebase init. Firebase login. Ah, that was cool. Air frontend directory should be the public root. Okay. And I actually went into the source code. Dots. And okay, so this will be an issue later on, but we'll see. Firebase deploy. Okay, so see here. We have our login form. And this is something that you can visit, and it's up there, live. And notice that I even have to install the CLI and the init and enable the login, all that stuff. And it took like what? Minute, 2 minutes. So now we have a content delivery network, or like someone serving our static front-end files. And the cool thing about Firebase is that it can act as your you can use it for simple login stuff and database handles, like doing your database stuff with Firebase as well. So if you're doing lots of front-end stuff and not any back-end stuff, look into Firebase as your like back-end as a service provider. They're really, really good. The problem though is if you use them to make your prototypes, usually your backend team won't be able to make the same cool experience as you get Firebase. So you get into that problem with a designer making a really cool design, and then you hand it to the teams like, yeah, that looks really cool, but we can't do it. So Firebase can be the same issue there, that if you use their backend, they might actually over-deliver on the prototype. So if you have a product owner that sees the front end and you get a really nice backend system, and then your backend team can't do it, you might get some friction. But I mean, you just have to whip the backend guys. So they start using WebSockets to enable that as well. Okay, so now I think we've done the deploy to Firebase. Closing that. And I actually think that this is good that we didn't go into the React and NPM setup that much, because the JavaScript stuff, we'll look into that the next time. And the configuration of building tools, we have this notion of JavaScript tools fatigue, that it's so draining setting up configuration tools in the correct way. So if you notice, I had to like when I did the from the file system, I had to push Command R to reload all the time. And that's something that we can fix, so I don't have to swap windows. I can just keep the window open on the side and it reloads itself. But getting there is really annoying as a senior and as a junior developer. And we'll take it step by step, watching like how can we add tools that actually gives you something like that you really benefit from, without getting that build tool fatigue issue with like really large configuration files where you lose control and don't understand what's happening. And I'll also point you to those tools. So if you need to set up Webpack or Browserify, whatever it is, like why do you get the fatigue from them? But that will be next time. So summing up this session, what we've done, we went through a bit of bootstrapping. We set up a project here, our front-end prototype base, and we made some kind of easy structure here with just some index.html and a git ignore, which is just empty right now. And went through basic setup with a form that looks the normal way. And that's enough for this time. And what we will do next time is hook up. We will reactify most of this and make the components. And so what is the shell of the prototype project and what is the actual component that you can copy paste into your real project, that will be much clearer once we get into React. And we'll also discuss some things with why we use React, what can we use instead, like the benefits, what are the problems that React solves, and the choices we make with React using a JSX style, and what would happen if we don't use it. And we'll also need to look into Babel, which is the translation tool that takes your code that you write for React and JSX and with some like the newer dialects of JavaScript that you often use with React, and how you package that to something that actually works in older browsers. That's Babel's job to do. And Babel will be our first build tool. And there's a reason why I'm not using Webpack or Browserify, and that's to avoid that kind of fatigue, because then you're using tools that use other tools, and you will get into integration problems. And that's kind of the fatigue, the biggest reason why we get fatigued setting up build chains. Okay, so moving on to picks. I want to make a shout out for Swedish band, Flying Ghost, the band. Maybe. Yeah, here we go. So, excellent Swedish, you could call it metal band, just like 70s inspired metal band. Really excellent stuff. And as an atheist, I'm also glad that they put some weird religious stuff on the screen. It makes me think, if you listen to their interviews and stuff, there seems to be more than just some kind of masked band. They're actually thinking about things. Okay. And then we also have free code camp, which is something that I'll try to mentor people through free code camp. I'm going through their learning how to code, but it's a bit too basic for me. But they start really low level, learning you how to build web apps. I'm starting in a different end, and kind of want you to like learn on some level so you can deploy it, and then we'll go into details and deploy even better apps, but always like the deployable circle. Free code camp starts from scratch, learning HTML from scratch, learning CSS from scratch, and then like building from there. So it's a really good combination. And then I want to make shout out to NPM. NPM here. There's happened some stuff with a dude unpublishing his packages from NPM. And NPM is the registry where we publish our package and other people can use our package. And if you unpublish them, you will destroy a lot of stuff for other programmers. And there's a debate like who screwed up. was it the developer or NPM or Kik which was involved in trying to get hold of their intellectual property, or like the name. So you can read that stuff by Googling on it, like NPM and Kik and LeftPad maybe. But my view on it is that I'm more impressed than ever of NPM and how they're trying to handle it in an open source way and respecting different views. So they're not just trying to go out in public and say like this perfect statement so everything goes away. They're actually trying to discuss with people. And I wish more corporates, like more companies would actually try and go down into the dirt and discuss with upset people. And that's something that I feel like NPM is actually doing. They're debating. Okay. Last of all is JS Jabber, which I will pick over and over again. And I just want to point out that they have junior developers on. So, like, I think, yeah, Amy. I think her name is Amy, and it's like just for the entire crew to include someone like Amy. I think that enables a lot of listeners, and it's easier for me that's been in the business for a while, but still not that senior in all the stuff that you talk about. Having someone junior and having that perspective makes it easier to listen to this podcast. And if you're into JavaScript, this is a must, as well as Node App. But I'll pick JS Jabber and podcast or cast that includes juniors. It's a really big, important thing. Okay, so that's it. And please provide your comments through Twitter or Hangouts or Facebook, whatever. I'm Marcus Nilsson on Twitter, and see you on the next broadcast.